Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Petaluma Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee for Wednesday, July 5th. Our first item is the oath of office for our newly appointed members, Adam Garcia and Franklin Quint, who's absent, I believe.
I'm here.
Oh,
Take your seat. Sorry. Where should I go?
Come on up.
I think you're right next to me.
Okay, very good.
Is that right?
First time here, so.
Welcome. So we will start with Adam Garcia. So if Adam, when you're ready, if you could raise your right hand. I, Adam Garcia, do solemnly swear
I, Adam Garcia, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
of purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
You are sworn in. And now we will start with Franklin, and if you just want to raise your right hand and just repeat after me. I, Franklin Quint, do solemnly swear
I, Franklin Quint, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
the Charter of the City of Petaluma,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
okay, and City Clerk, can you please take roll?
Osselmeyer,
Here.
Bond, Camarda,
Here.
Garcia,
Here.
Quint,
Here.
Tar,
Here.
Hooper, Earl, Barnacle.
Here.
Moving on to general public comment. During general public comment, the public is invited to make comments on items of public interest that are within the committee's subject matter jurisdiction and that are not listed on the current agenda. Public comments are limited up to 3 minutes per person. Depending on the number of persons wishing to address the committee, time will be allocated in equal shares, totaling no more than 15 minutes. Has everyone brought speaker cards forward that would like to speak?
I just have one comment. So for the new members, when you're done speaking, you'll need to unmute or mute it, and then the button will turn red. And there were 3 public comments received.
And were any comments received prior to the meeting?
All 3 comments were received prior to the meeting.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So first I have Sheila Baker.
It's on.
Should I, or is that okay? Great, okay. Sheila Baker, and I'm here to support the letter that you received for public comment from Derek Douglas Hecker. Okay, he speaks for literally all of us. Okay, and hopefully people have had a chance to read this letter because it's very important. I had the pleasure of working with him yesterday with the Lucchese event and bike valet, and we talked a little bit about this. And it's important to him. I believe he may have been injured at the crossing that he's talking about here in this letter, but this is not what he was writing about. This is the Lakeville Smart crossing of Lynch Creek Trail, and the little blinky light was out for quite a while. I believe that may have even been the second time. And there's just nothing more dangerous than trying to cross a street where a train might be coming or cars are speeding. They like to go like 30 or 40, 50 miles an hour on that street. And yet that blinker or that crossing was broken. So his ask was, he wanted to know, is this a policy issue? And could it be? Is this something that would be part of the ATP refresh? Do you have any further creative ideas to ensure, our limited, safe, and stress-free corridors continue to be safe and stress-free for all of us? So that also, again, speaks for me and you. Hopefully, I don't know how the jurisdiction works. I don't think he really stresses like, okay, he knows, who does know. But it's our city. It's us. It's where we live, and it may be smart, and it may be Caltrans or the county or whatever. But I do believe this is our city, and so we should really be mindful of these issues. And when something is broken, as long as this was, it's just unacceptable. So I support him. I support Derek. I support his letter. And I appreciate him writing this letter. So hopefully you all get a chance. If you haven't read it, you'll get a chance to read it all. Thanks.
Thank you, Sheila. Next is Pete Gang.
Thank you and good evening. I just wanted to give a very short, hopefully concise summary update on CityThread, which I'm sure you have all heard about to some degree. Early last year, Safe Streets Petaluma started talking to a group of consultants who had previously worked with some big cities across the country to get them to accelerate the build out of their non-automobile mobility networks. Those cities were Austin, New Orleans, Denver, Pittsburgh, and Providence. Last fall, the city of Petaluma and also the city of Santa Rosa were 2 of 9 cities around the country that were awarded a grant to get the benefit of CityThread's consulting services. We set up a meeting earlier this year where CityThread principals met with our mayor, city manager, several city council members, and other members of our staff, our public works staff. And then they took several months reviewing our key documents, did follow-up phone interviews, and they delivered a final report in May of this year. They call their report the Accelerated Mobility Playbook. And subsequently, June 13th and 14th, they hosted 2 members from each of the 9 cities to a mini gathering in Denver. And the way they set it up was each city would send 1 community member and 1 city staff person. So I was fortunate to be the community member. Bjorn Griepenberg was the city staff person. So the other cities, just for curiosity, were Bainbridge Island, Washington, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Gulfport, Indianapolis, Milwaukee, and Syracuse, New York. And I see my time is running out, but what was stressed is that the kind of changes that we are envisioning can only happen with a strong partnership between the community and city staff. And so what we as Safe Streets are taking on is coming up with a clear, coherent vision of what we want our streets to be 20 years down the road. My time's up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. And last I have Emily Sharton.
Hi, I'm Emily Sharton. I'm the advocacy coordinator for the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. And I just wanted to say a few words tonight on D Street, which continues to be debated. The Bicycle Coalition submitted a petition in support of the city's original quick build plan for D Street, which was presented in April and includes crosswalk improvements, traffic calming, and designated bike lanes. We learned last week in a letter from Public Works that the city has decided to remove bike lanes from the bulk of the quick build plan because of outcry over the need to remove some vehicle parking to make room for the installation. The new plan, which I'm guessing you all have seen, includes just 2 disconnected segments of bike lane at either end of the project. So needless to say, we're disappointed by this decision. D Street is an important link between city neighborhoods, the countryside, and the coast. And it's critical that it reflects a design that considers the safety of all potential users, pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles. We understand that the city wants to continue reviewing the need for bike lanes on D Street as a part of the overall active transportation plan update, but our question is, why wait? The D Street project is a quick build, which is a chance to test out and receive feedback on a new configuration before it becomes permanent. So this seems like the perfect opportunity to address concerns by allowing the public to see the plan in action. We know that the PBAC supported bike lanes on D Street when this project was presented to you last year, and the city's own survey results have shown community support for bike lanes more than once. So we just want to reemphasize that there is broad support for safe mobility and the creation of a network for all users, and we would like to see D Street reflect those priorities. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. And with that, we'll close public comments. Let's see. Next is our presentation on the active transportation plan update and interactive map feedback tutorial. And I believe Gina Benedetti-Petnick is presenting that.
Thank you, Chair. And I am trying to bring this up to share it. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Is that coming up for everyone? Thank you. So this is a brief update and a tutorial on the progress on the active transportation plan and the draft project map. And included in our overview, just a brief reminder of what the ATP is, the active transportation plan, an explanation of the project map, and a short tutorial about the interactive map that is now launched on our webpage, and some alternative ways that we will encourage the public to provide comments, and an overview of the community engagement process, where we're at in that, and then a couple links at the end. You all know this, but I'm going to do a brief refresher. The active transportation plan is going to replace the previously adopted bicycle and pedestrian master plan. From 2008, it was an addendum to the general plan that was adopted in 2008, called the 2025 general plan, the one that we're working on now to update. So this work is being performed in tandem with the general plan update. And of course, it includes vision, goals, policies, projects, etc., all about improving walking, cycling, and rolling. And we will be including recommendations in multiple areas, including infrastructure, so bike lanes and crosswalks and types of crosswalks and types of infrastructure. And that includes traffic calming measures that you're all very familiar with, but weren't memorialized really in the last pedestrian bicycle master plan. So we'll be establishing those standards and having that infrastructure in this new active transportation plan document. There will also be education components, of course, encouragement and some explanation and understanding of why this is important to the community as a whole, not just to those who bike, walk, and roll. And then enforcement, there will be a piece on enforcement too. And it's not mentioned here, but when we talk about projects and programs, the AT plan should be providing rough cost estimates and giving us an idea of what's ahead and helping us to prioritize those. That will be a component in the plan as well. And none of this is news to you. I realize that maybe to some of our new members, it's new information. That could be to our new committee members, but most of you are pretty familiar with that. The draft project map development has been underway for a while. So we've had a PBAC workshop. We've done one-on-one discussions with our committee members, and to our new committee members, we will be doing that with you as well. Probably Bjorn will be, or Allison with our consultant Fair and Peers will be having you sit down and work with them, and they'll ask you for your input and walk you through that as well. We have already done feedback. We've received feedback at several different community events, including Ciclavia, the Smart Pathway ribbon cutting, and then the Cool Pedal in the Climate Expo, which is the most recent one. That was a couple months ago. And we get, we've had really good attendance at our booths at these events with lots of interest. I've seen Bjorn, with the maps spread out on the table, and head to head with folks on the other side of the table, looking down and making recommendations and suggestions and looking at issues and areas. So They've been really engaging for people that want to engage one-on-one. They've been, I think, a really powerful tool. And then we've had, we have a local road safety plan, and I know that most of the committee here is familiar with it. I would encourage our new committee members to familiarize yourselves with it, and Bjorn or I could provide a link if you're not sure where to find that. And our team with our consultant has been utilizing recommendations and information from that plan as one of many resources we use to inform the active transportation plan update. And then and that local road safety plan, I forget the date exactly, but it's about 1.5 years old, in that order of magnitude. So in agency terms, it's like a little baby, right? It's pretty current and pretty fresh, heat maps and data. And then we've been working on updating projects that were proposed in the old Bike and Ped Master Plan, and looking at what was proposed in those projects, the locations, the scopes of work, what was proposed, and making sure that it's reflecting our new guidance for all ages and abilities bikeways. Because in 2008, I'm not sure if that was a concept. I don't think it was. And we've learned so much, I think, in the last 10 plus years, and a much, I think, more inclusive and healthier guidance for developing our facilities for cyclists that are of literally all ages and abilities. So everything from young kids up to the most seasoned commuting cyclists and everything in between. And so the way you design bikeways are different, and the recommendations are obviously different now than they were in 2008. So we're working on updating our standards to that. So before I share the map, we just want to remind everyone that this is a draft map. So you're not looking at a final map. You're not looking, at something that isn't going to change. In fact, this is a work in progress, and it will be in progress for a while. That doesn't mean that we don't stop what we're doing, but we are looking for comments to come in by the end of July on this draft map, and we can expect that there will continue to be changes as we develop the map. And as Bjorn points out in his important reminders, the earlier you catch something, the better. So we're hoping that you all will have your eyes on this, as well as the community and those that like to engage this way, on the cloud and on a web page. This is a really powerful tool to get comments and feedback for staff and for our consultants as we look at the projects that we need to be tackling. So all projects are proposed. I'm just reading the second bullet. And if adopted in the ATP, they would still be subject to prioritization and community engagement, et cetera, environmental approvals and funding. One of what I want to say about funding and emphasize is that one of the great powers of these plans is that it sets up these projects for funding. If we can demonstrate to a granting authority that the project we're seeking funding for is in an adopted active transportation plan that's been approved by council and ultimately is implemented with a new general plan, and it offers a tremendous opportunity and a lot more leverage for those funds. So it's a really helpful mechanism to help us get funding for these projects. So the tutorial is really basic, and for many, this will be,
Gina,
yeah,
my computer is almost dead, and I have it plugged in.
uh-oh,
Can you just come here and take a peek?
yeah. And I can bring you a charger if you like. Let's see.
It's all plugged in. All the connections.
Huh. And we're about to lose it. Let's see. Everything is tight. Here's Alec to help out.
My computer's almost dead. Okay, now I just tried another outlet. Now it's working. Looks like it's charging.
Good. Excellent.
Okay.
Is it misbehaving or just you're just worried about the battery?
Yeah. Okay, so. Let me see.
Okay, sorry for that interruption. We good, Shelley?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a screenshot from our webpage,
Alec.
and the link to that is at the end of this presentation. And you may have had time to go in and play around on it already. But when you open the map, you get a default view, and it's showing proposed projects at this point, is what you'll see when you open it. And sorry, I think I skipped a slide.
think it's
but
good. I think
let me
that's
see here.
That's fine.
Oh, now it's going, but it stopped again.
Yeah. You
See
can
the little icon in the top left?
you can click on lanes that are shown, either the purple, the pink, the yellow, and it will show you a simple description of what you're looking at. You can also turn other layers on. If you want to see existing bikeways, if you click, you see in the red box there's a little layer symbol. If you click on that, there's a pop-up window, and it shows you all the layers in the map that you can turn on and turn off. So you can dial in exactly what you want to look at. And I like the zoom tool a lot too. So this is a really smooth map, interactive map. You just can scroll in and out like you normally would on a Google map. And as you zoom in, you get more and more detail. So you'll actually start to see parcels and the outlines of structures on the parcels. And you'll get, as you see in this screen, you'll actually see labels and street names showing up in great detail. To add a comment, at the top of the map, there's a button that says add a comment, I think is what it says. And I don't have a picture of that, but it's really obvious at the top of the map. And you click that, and then you're given an opportunity to select what you want what you want to comment and where. So you click on one of these icons, and then you drag it down into the map, and you can move it from there. It's not a final click and drag, but it's like a little Post-it essentially, and then you can add your comments where you choose. Here's and once you've done that, you get a pop-up window, and that's where you can actually put in your comment. And we ask for your first name and email, and the comment and then an agreement at the bottom. And we want you to know that contact information won't be public, but the comment will, so. And then you can also click on the comment icons in the map, and you can view comments left by other people, and you can, I like this, you can respond to, you can start a discussion, you can like it and dislike it, right? So you can upvote it and downvote comments. That's kind of slick. And for staff, it's a really, really efficient way for us to get a lot of information from the community and the public conveniently and quickly. It's great and it's preferred. You can always email Bjorn Griepenberg, and his link is on here. It's also at the end of the slideshow. Again, I think I said this earlier, but the deadline is Sunday, July 30th for the first round of comments on the map. And this is an overview of where we are in the community engagement process. So here we are starting the interactive mapping tool on the left. We'll be moving through some community workshops as we move ahead. And then PBAC will be coming back again to review progress and provide more feedback for the draft project map at the same time that they're starting to work on the draft plan. And then we'll have other committee and commission reviews, so we know that there are other committees and commissions that will be wanting updates on what, on the active transportation plan. And that will be, who will that be? No doubt Music Park Rec will be interested, and Planning Commission will be interested, and then ultimately City Council will be reviewing and adopting. So that's the sort of the big picture process. And then here are the links, the AT Plan webpage, and then there's overview and background information on the second link, and the draft project map is on that last link. And I think that's it. Yep, and then Bjorn's contact. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. At this time, committee members may provide brief comments on the presentation, but we cannot deliberate on the matter. So if anyone has comments, please. Yes, Marcia.
I just want to ask a question. Gina, can you do this map live so we could actually see you pull it up off the web? To me, that would just be very helpful.
I can do that. Chair, would you want me to give that a run?
Yes, I'm fine with that. Thank
You're
you.
okay taking the time to do that? Okay, let's see here. I need to pull that up. And move that. And oh, I know the problem.
Can I make a comment, Chair?
Yep.
In my version of the slideshow, the links were not live, not all of them. Some of the things that look like hyperlinks were live and took you somewhere, but not all of them.
Oh,
So I just,
thank you for that feedback.
so when you were doing your thing, I just went to the city's website, to the Bike and Ped Commission page to find the interactive map, but mine didn't work like that. I'm not sure if other people's did. Yeah, okay. So like, for example, you've got Bjorn's email up there. That was a live link, but the links on the prior page were not for me.
Okay.
The link to the map itself, Pamela?
It was not live for me in the presentation.
I'm trying to stop this share. and can't seem to do that. I may, if I may, in the background, work on this and go ahead and take some more comments, if there are any, and if I can figure this out, I will share
Thank
it
you.
momentarily. Sorry, I'm not as tech savvy on this system as I am on my other one, so take me a moment.
That's okay. I would like to add, I would just like to know more about the community engagement process. I think that all of the tables have been great, but I don't necessarily feel like the public has been informed heavily beforehand that that's an opportunity to engage. And I would love to see like a Lucchese Center day where people can really come and learn and like dig in together and workshop together on the ATP. And just get, I don't know if you have any more idea about the community engagement process or what's gonna happen for now, but that's one comment.
So, I'm sorry, question in there or just comment?
I guess my question is, do you know any more details about what the community engagement process is gonna look like from here forward?
From here out, I don't have the details on wheres and whens and types. I know that the intent is to offer different ways for the community to participate, because not everyone is comfortable, certainly with this sort of online tool. So they will be, I believe, largely in-person events. There may be one Zoom mixed in for those that can't make the in-person events. We find that we have to do a little bit of everything to capture as many ideas and as much feedback as possible from as many constituents and different backgrounds and different needs in the community. And so the in-person events will target different locations than we have thus far, I think. That's safe to say, but I don't have that list. And Bjorn might be able to provide that on his staff update.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I would just love to see something like we've done for the skate park or general plan where people get together. And do you know anything about, it says if we adopt projects for the ATP, there would be like a criteria. Do you know what that rubric might look like?
I don't have that available yet.
That's all, thank you.
I think that might be something that if this committee were to decide to establish an ad hoc or two to do some more work on the ATP, I think that might be a place where committee feedback would be easily used, in helping develop those.
Thank you, Gina. I'm trying to figure out how to turn the layers on and off, and I was having trouble with that. But it would be great to have layers for like bus stops and schools and parks, key destinations on there. Just would help with some wayfinding, I think.
Let me see. I think I can share this now. Okay.
Awesome.
So this actually, if I were to start it from scratch, and I were to just want to, oops, let's see, can I move this out of here? I can't move it out, can I? Sorry. So I'm just coming into City of Petaluma, any page on City of Petaluma, come up here to search, and I think you could just put in, let's just try this, ATP. Let's see what comes up. Nope, got to spell it out. Active. So the best way to navigate on the city website, if you don't know where you're going and how to find a page, is to use this search bar. And there we are, active transportation plan. I click on that. And you all are familiar with this page, I imagine. It has updates on the plan development, has photos from some of our engagement, community engagement that we've done. And then we have this section that we've added, review our draft project map and provide input through July 30th. And there's a link, interactive draft. That's how I navigated to it the first time, not, just not having any background. You get a welcome to the ATP web map and some information here. And if you click add your comments, this is where it opens up the map here on the right. Here's the Zoom bar, which will take you in pretty granular, too granular. So I find it easier to use I'm just clicking and dragging with my mouse, and I'm scrolling with my mouse, and I think that gives me more control than this Zoom bar does. Here's the layer, so I just hover my mouse over that layer symbol, and here are the layers that come up. So existing network, shared use paths, bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, bike routes, trails, high injury network, sidewalk gaps on one side of the street, sidewalk gaps on both, parks and schools. And so remind me what.
So I didn't see the layers, but you've got two of the three that I wanted on there, which is parks and schools, and the third one would be bus stops. Might be nice to add bus stops.
Transit stops, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good suggestion. And let's just see how this works. So let's see if we get, they may all be on. I'm just going to click a few of these. Oh, look at, things are starting to populate. So I just have sidewalk gaps on one and both sides of the street, and I added parks and schools, and let's add the high injury network, and I'm going to zoom out and kind of see what happened here. Gets pretty busy, right? And I'm going to click on something that was labeled high injury network. What do I get? I just get corridor study, conduct feasibility study of bikeway improvements along corridor. And notice our pop-ups are in English and Spanish, which is a nice feature. So that's, and then here. So this is the add comment button that I was referring to. And let's say I want to make I'm going to do other ideas, and I'm going to, place marker here. And then I can add a comment here. And I'm not going to do that during this meeting, so I'm going to escape. I just hit the escape button and I go out, no harm done. And that's it basically. Thank you. If it's okay, I'll stop my share, or should I leave it up? Are there related questions?
Yeah, quick question. First, I guess, a question and a suggestion, maybe. The question, I guess, is it possible to remove the proposed projects layer just to get a blank map? So if you want to just know where are the sidewalk gaps that have been reported, I have a new one I want to add. It's might be a little hard to just see through all the different layers that are on there.
That's a great question. Right now, there's not a way to pull that off. I think it's part of the base map, but we can absolutely look into making that a layer instead.
Great, thank you. And then the other, I guess, a suggestion is, I say somewhat tentatively, knowing how hard it can be sometimes to collect this information, but considering it's an active transportation plan, people traveling from point A to point B, if there might be an option to also include a line as a comment to be able to say from this point to here is where my issue is that I'd like to leave feedback.
Tool.
What's that?
A drawing tool.
A drawing tool. If you're leaving a point as well, doing a drawing line. I would refrain from doing a polygon. I think that's too much, but just something to consider.
And I don't know the capabilities of this particular software, but we'll run it up the flagpole. If we can, we will.
Great, thank you.
Any other, Marcia?
I just want to second what Adam was saying. I think it's really important to make this map not a scary place for people to go to. Because at some point in time, this map, I'm hoping, will be available on our mobile devices as we travel. As we take a bicycle ride, we'll be able to figure out where we are, where we want to turn off, how do I get to the next point. And so if we can make this as easy as humanly possible for folks who are not as computer savvy as many, I am one of those, I think that's a bonus. And that was one of my comments, was to remove the project layer. You can put it underneath everything else, but it isn't the first thing I would like to go to. I might like to go to pedestrians, for example. So I just second what Adam was saying. Thank you.
Any other comments? Oh, yes, Brian.
Can you remind me where we're at with the tree mapping that we were doing, like a bunch of tree mapping, I thought, around in public spaces and streetscapes and things like that. Can you just remind me where that
From
project's
Tree
at?
Advisory Committee work, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I thought there was like an urban forestry mapping project that was underway.
There is, and I don't know where that stands in progress, but we can ask and find out. Cindy Chong in our Parks and Facilities and our advisory committee are working on that, so we can ask for an update. Absolutely. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Yes, Pamela.
What information related to the SMART train and the stations and getting to SMART is accessible through this map?
I don't know. I'm exploring it just as you all are, but I don't, well, here, let's zoom in.
I'm not seeing anything.
Not
but-
seeing anything. So that would be, East D, Petaluma River.
Yeah, like location of the station and the proposed station.
Lakeville. So let me just see what happens when yeah, they're not even, it's not even labeled,
Yeah.
right? So
Would
that's
that-
something we need to,
Yeah,
we
wouldn't that
easily
be of
could
help?
incorporate.
Yeah, okay.
that, yeah. And of course, nothing's going to be over at the Corona site
Right.
yet, the North Petaluma site, but will be, and this should reflect that as well, I think. So, yeah, good suggestion.
And do we want to show anything just outside city boundaries that allows us to, for example, be on the SMART multi-use path to the extent it affects how people travel through town? And even though it's outside our portions are outside our boundaries, I don't know if that's worth doing.
So here's the Smart MUP extension proposed, showing up here. I clicked on this. I clicked on this green line because I know that that's the alignment of the track at North McDowell. And when I click on it, implement shared multi-use path.
Okay.
So the smart path is there, and if I were to come into layers and show existing, trail bike route maybe? Let's see if it shows up. I'm waiting to see the connection from South Point to Payran, right? And I'm not seeing that, which is interesting. And I guess I'm not seeing it because it isn't, it's Smart's path, not a city facility, but neither, well, this is shared, this section. See if does it keep going? I'm gonna scroll out real quick. Yeah, it shows it going all the way. It does go to Pengrove, and this map is reflecting that. So yeah, we should be picking up and maybe I chose the wrong layer. It should be under bike route, right? No, it's under shared path. Here we go. Let's do this. There
okay.
it shows up.
Okay.
I just clicked the wrong layer. So we've got the smart paths, but we don't have the stations shown. I see.
And one other layer suggestion I think that's relevant, there's the existing high injury network. There's also the high injury intersections as well that come from the Vision Zero plan as well. I think that would be a helpful addition.
Yeah, this doesn't do a great job reflecting that. I see. Thanks for that recommendation. Any other questions, or shall I stop the share? Chair? You're deep in thought.
I'm sorry, any other comments?
No.
I don't know how this works procedurally, but for the presentations, we don't have public comment. I've received one comment card for this item. I don't know if we have.
It's absolutely up to you, and it's absolutely fine if you want to accept public comment for presentation.
Okay, I would.
As far as I'm concerned, the more the better.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, so Pete Gang, would you like to give comment, please?
Interactive draft project map. I spent a little bit of time with it, and I think as we've seen this evening, it's not very easy to use. It's visually appealing, it's bright and colorful, but it's really hard to use. It requires a lot of commitment on the part of anybody in order to really work with it. One of the things that I was just reminded of is that you can't read the street names. That's one thing. The color coding is not at all intuitive. I think it would be more appropriate if there was some sense to the color coding, maybe with red being the high stress parts of the network and green being low stress, or something to that effect. One of the main things I'm missing here is any indication of what our 2008 bike ped plan called for, which was something like a complete and integrated network of bike and pedestrian paths throughout the city. I'm seeing individual projects, but no sense of what the whole plan is. I think to me, that's a big failing. In City Thread's recommendations, they were looking to the ATP as a critical part of our next step. And I'm starting to think that we might be placing too many eggs in the basket of ATP. It might not be the wonderful tool that we hope it would be. And finally, I just wanted to say that in the sense of timeline that I read on the website, it's a little disappointing to see that public comment on this map officially closes at the end of July. A draft document is due sometime late summer, early fall, and the final plan will be wrapped up a few months later. Coming this late in the process, it seems very rushed. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Our next item is approval of minutes for June 7th, 2023. Are there any changes that the committee would like to make to those minutes? No, so they will be approved as presented. And next is public hearings and matters for consideration. So the first is a recommendation to discuss the formation of new ad hoc committees. And Gina, I think that's you.
Thank you. There's a brief staff report that we submitted. This is pretty straightforward. This body has formed ad hocs last year, and each have completed their work and presented their work back to the committee. And I think it was really helpful. We had an ad hoc for trails, one for bike parking, and one for Vision Zero. And our upcoming focus on the active transportation plan is prompting a recommendation from staff for this committee to consider new ad hocs, perhaps. And this really is a committee decision, not at all a staff decision. But we know that you're a very engaged group of committee members with a tremendous amount of experience to the benefit of all the things you touch with PBAC. And so it made sense to see if perhaps one or two new ad hocs might be appropriate. One of the considerations that we're looking at is for an ad hoc would be to help review public input received on the ATP project map that we're looking at, and provide recommendations to help shape that revised project map, that draft map. And that could be work could be done in an ad hoc, and it could be reviewed and feedback brought to the main group. And then there are additional topics that if the committee were interested in, and they're listed in the staff report, there's 3 of them that we honed in on. One of them is the League of American Cyclists Bicycle Friendly Community Application. That would be a great ad hoc project. Safe Routes to School would be another. And then a short-term citizen-led demonstration projects, the tactical urbanism projects that have been discussed before. That could be great work for an ad hoc. And then just to remind everyone, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. This is out of order as the staff report presented it, but I'll just remind everyone what an ad hoc committee is and what it can and cannot do. So it needs to be composed of committee members that comprise less than a quorum. I think is that 4 here? And it cannot meet regularly. And if it has a specific task and a discrete, scope that it's working on, it can meet without having to comply with Brown Act requirements. It can also include non-committee members. If an ad hoc wanted to bring in a subject matter expert from the community, that's something that could be done as well. It doesn't have to have a formal chair, but it's a great idea if an ad hoc forms for that group to mutually agree on who's going to represent their work back to the main body when that time comes. So you may want a leadership position assigned. Again, it's up to the committee. And so these meetings can happen, outside of the public purview. It can be done as needed and as long as needed. Although for the work of this committee, things move, we would want things to move relatively fast. So I can't imagine one of these ad hocs lasting longer than that. I just remembered an ad hoc that has lasted longer than that, but by no fault of its own. And that was the joint subcommittee ad hoc for the bike share that SCTA was implementing throughout all of the smart station cities. And that was something we worked for a while, had great feedback. It was joint with Transit and PBAC, so we had some members from each, and did some great workshops and had some good feedback, but ultimately the program never implemented due to a lot of considerations that were out of our control and even out of SCTA's control with their vendors. So that subcommittee lasted a long time. That ad hoc subcommittee lasted a long time, but wasn't meeting for most of it because of those hiccups. Anyway, so those are some examples. I think I captured most of the ad hoc rules and regs, but I'm happy to answer questions if I can. And encourage, Chair, you to engage with the committee, and you can, if there's interest, I'll let you take it from there. It does not require a vote, as I understand it. It can just be by mutual consent.
Okay. Brian?
What does regularly mean? You said they cannot meet regularly. Does that mean like on a set schedule or?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha. Thanks.
yeah. If you were to post a schedule to your fellow ad hoc committee members and say, we're going to meet every Tuesday, every third Tuesday of every month or anything like that, then it's going to trigger Brown Act compliance. Yeah.
So should we just see if there's anybody interested in each ad hoc? Is anybody interested in doing the ATP deep dive?
How about just adding to the list
Sure.
of potential ad hocs?
Yes, Marcia.
While we were doing the trails ad hoc, that just finished about a month ago, we were very concerned about off-road speed limits on our trails. And we didn't have time to research what's out there and what cities are doing to slow this traffic down, making it a lovely place for both bicyclists and pedestrians. So one of the thoughts that we had as an ad hoc trails committee was to add this to our ad hoc list in hopes that some group of us might take this on. Another one that has concerned me, since I always laugh that I'm the only pedestrian on this committee, because I tend to be the only person who walks rather than bikes everywhere. When we tend to talk about bike and ped, we talk about bike. I'd like to make sure that we also talk about ped. And we haven't addressed this, but it's something that I would like to see as a potential ad hoc, is pedestrian safety and connections and broken links, and researching various policies that are out there regarding how a city could have a policy that would mitigate sidewalk repair in front of homeowners' homes. But definitely something on the pedestrian rounds. And then the third one that we've bantered about before in this group is to research and to recommend standards for street markings. We've talked about sharrows, and then we've dropped it. We've talked about center lanes, and we've dropped it. Just to get a handle on what's out there, what people are doing, and make some recommendations as to what we might want to consider in the future. So those are the three ad hocs that I'd like to add to the existing list. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may respond about the street markings, I know we talked about in the Vision Zero ad hoc when we were working with Bjorn on making sure that we update to the most current street design standards. And Bjorn was really interested. He was like, I think Berkeley's doing the best job in California, and he would like to use that going forward. So I don't know what the official policy or process would be for that to be clearly communicated, but I'm not sure if that changes your your wish to have that as an ad hoc. If that ad hoc entails more than the street design standards.
We talked about street design in trails also. I mean, that was part of us,
Okay.
what we talked about.
Thank you, Marcia.
That answers, I think, that question. Yes?
Yes.
I'd propose an ad hoc focused on communications and community engagement, largely tied to our project list, and just sort of focused on educating and engaging the community. And this kind of stems from like the primary source of backlash we see, and probably the reason why D Street is not having protected bike lanes right now is because there's more people that are upset about parking than are demanding protected bike lanes. And I think that there's a good opportunity for a group of people to get together and craft op-eds, educating people. We're going to be doing some pretty colossal projects over on Caulfield, on Casa Grande, and doing outreach over there, figuring out how to message that to the community in a way that is welcomed, is, I think, a pretty important project. All the projects that are slowed down right now are almost all slowed down because of community pushback. And so if we can be proactively building the momentum with folks like Cool Petaluma and others, I'd certainly be excited to join a group like that.
I love it. I don't see an end of scope of work.
So that's the one problem, I think, is that it's almost a standing ad hoc, maybe. I mean, we could do it as an interim thing, and if it works, it works. But it's the number one problem that we see that I experience is people just pushing back and saying, don't do this, don't do that. People, whether it's people on Rainier or people on D Street or people on 6th Street complaining about 5th Street. Soon enough, it'll be Caulfield and so on and so on. And it's maddening for those of us who actually want to get things done. And I know it's tough on staff to have so many people uneducated about the reasons why and things like that.
Pamela, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I would be interested in serving on an ad hoc. I think there's a lot of different ways that this could go. And I think that maybe there's some other lenses we could apply as we, for example, start looking at public comment. But I'd be interested in being part of a team that looked at the map, and probably from the bicycle perspective would probably fall more into my domain. But I'd be interested in serving on that. I'm a little concerned that, with the July 30 deadline, that doesn't seem very reasonable for other public comment to be garnered, whether it's at other public events, Art and Garden or Rivertown Revival, or I don't even know what else we're doing. But that does seem kind of compressed, kind of unnecessarily perhaps. But I'd be interested in being a part of something where we looked at the map ourselves, looked at public comment, and maybe asked ourselves these questions. How well is this serving safe routes to school, for example? Mm-hmm. So just wanted to voice that.
Thank you. I know with the League of American Bicyclists bicycle-friendly community application, previously Eris Weaver said that she would that's a big application process, and she would help take us through that if anyone is interested in also taking that on. Anybody? Yes, Adam.
Yeah, just a quick update also. SCTA submitted a RFP for the bike share just in June 15th, I think. So that process is getting started up again. It'll take some time, but just to let you know, it is coming back.
Yeah.
I would be great. I'd be happy to serve on or help with any ad hoc committees. Both the community outreach as well as looking at the map would be areas that I would be happy to to help with.
Thank you. Any other comments so far?
I guess I can just go officially and say what I was interested in.
Please.
Might be helpful. I think the Safe Routes to School is of great interest. I know the Sonoma County Bike Coalition is doing some excellent work up in Santa Rosa to work across the different school districts and with the city to really help implement and kind of review what are some of the best practices, where are the problem spots, getting real good, clear communication. So I think bringing that same process to Petaluma could be incredibly helpful. The other one I think I'm interested in is just the quick build idea of just figuring out what are the best practices. And I think communication is going to be part of that, I think, as well, too. But just thinking of what are some standardized practices we can learn from MTC at the regional level that could be potentially helpful for implementing at the local level, just to help expedite the review process and implementation as well.
Thank you. So what do you think the next steps from here? Maybe email interested members, or we have a lot longer list of ad hocs now.
Have a longer list, and
we are
we're
missing
short,
some
we're shy
people.
2 committee members tonight, which
Yeah.
isn't particularly helpful for the discussion. Some great ideas, and let's see. Let me put myself in your shoes. How would I proceed? I think that if you could, just by show of hands, like a little straw poll, go list through the different ad hoc ideas that we have. So there was the ATP ad hoc. There were, and plus the other 3 that were listed in the staff report: the bicycle friendly community app, the Safe Routes to School, and the tactical urbanism. And then to that, we also had further work on trail speed limits, I think, and then ped safety. I'm not going into a lot of detail, I'm just listing them off. And then I heard street standards, and then the education and community engagement. So all really established needs clearly, and all great ideas. But maybe if you were to kind of go through that list and just get a show of hands, if you have 2 folks interested in one ad hoc, that's a start,
Yeah.
right? And if you could get that far, you can narrow down the list maybe to, because we don't encourage that any one committee member participate in more than one ad hoc. So if you could find maybe a couple of these where there's more interest than the others and narrow it down, I think that would be great. And you could establish those by consent tonight, and then at the next meeting, hopefully you'll have a full quorum. And in the meantime, we can ask and see if there's interest from our 2 absent members tonight to participate in one of those.
Thank you.
I think that's kind of a way to narrow it down and focus yourselves based on interest and where you'll perceive the greatest need.
That's helpful.
I'll withdraw the community engagement and jump on the quick build if that works for you. Make it easy.
Did you say quick build as
Yeah,
well?
tactical urbanism.
So quick build and engagement?
I mean, it goes with it. Quick build has engagement in it. It's built.
Oh,
into
okay.
It, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I think, Frank, you said ATP deep dive as well as communications. Is there one of those that you would prefer? Or you could do maybe engagement?
Engagement would probably be
Okay. Okay. And Adam, you had safe routes to school, tactical urbanism, and communications. Is one of most interest, paramount
Oh, I
interest?
think maybe the third one, not communications, might just be the ATP review.
Okay, so you would like to do ATP with Pamela?
That would be, yeah, one of
Yeah.
the choices.
Okay, so that's,
Considering we have to limit ourselves to one. I'm not
right,
sure. Complex.
okay. And Marja, did you have an interest on any of?
I do, but I have
They're
it in
listed.
multiple areas. So when we did this last time, we gave, Bjorn sent us all a memo, and we replied to that as to what we might want to do. And then he compiled it and sent it back to us, assigning us to a committee and also letting us know that there were various people of the community that wanted to join in. So
You have a great
that to me
memory.
makes, I don't know right now. I think I would prefer to think about it and come back and.
Okay, I like that idea. I remember that now. Does anybody want to add, Pamela, do you want to add anything?
I was just going to say, so part of review of the ATP includes looking at the public comment that will be given through the end of the month, and then kind of synthesizing that. So it's almost as if work can be done, between now and the 30th, but watching the comments, and hopefully with the community engagement, there'll be more comments
Yeah.
that are given, say, on quick build and prioritizing or whatever that might be. But it sounds like, it's twofold. We could focus on what we know, and do we have the right to involve Gina or Bjorn in the ad hoc work? So if we need questions answered, we could go ahead and reach out to them. So I guess my point is, there's something initial that we can do between now and the 30th, and then as the comments come in, it seems like the work continues to look at the comments and try to understand where people's concerns are, if they're struggling, what they want to see done, those kinds of things. So it's at least there's work between now and the 30th, and then after that.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
agreed.
understanding.
So, Pamela and Adam, you might want to get started sooner than later. Yeah. Okay. So I think that, Gina, would you like me to send this to Bjorn and have him flesh it out and
Yeah,
send it back to the committee?
We can do that.
Okay.
If you have 3 people that tonight know, yeah, I want to do that, and there's one even that could get started on their work, you can do that too. And if you're not sure and you really would rather, that we synthesize it a bit and then send it back out to everyone, we can do it that way too.
Okay.
We'll lose a month on work by doing
Right.
it that way. That's my only hesitation. I'm happy to
Yeah.
do it. I'm just thinking, about wanting to be as effective as possible. And it's absolutely, or you all could choose not to form any more ad hocs. I mean, that's absolutely, a possible outcome here. So, and Marja noted that she needs some more time to think through that. I appreciate that. If you formed one tonight, it doesn't prevent forming another, at the next meeting after some synthesis has happened. So I think I heard, I'm not sure, Frank, if you had your druthers, whether you'd be working with the ATP mapping or with the communications engagement, community engagement. But if it, so it looks like Adam and Pamela might be willing to do work on the ATP and mapping review, and 2 people can be an ad hoc. You don't have to have more than that unless you want to. So you have some options. From what I'm hearing, there's enough common interests and for a few of these that you might be able to at least form one tonight if you so chose. And if not, then we'll process it and send it back out with the interests that we've heard tonight, and bring that back to you at the next meeting.
Can I just interject something? Could you, Gina, give us the list so far of those people who have volunteered for which piece so that we have an idea as to what we still need?
I can. We've heard so several of you commented that you would be, I think, interested in, you gave us choices, right? And I don't know what the priority is. So for instance, Adam, you mentioned Safe Routes to School, Tactical Urbanism, and the ATP and mapping. What would be your number one there?
The ATP and mapping.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's the time-bound one, yeah, that would
Okay.
take priority.
Okay. And Pamela, that was one that you had mentioned as well. And then Frank, would you be interested in that as, to participate in over the communications, community engagement? Did you have a preference, one over the other?
I would probably prioritize the communication, community engagement.
Okay. And Brian, since you nominated that,
That's my top one for
that's
sure.
your top one, right? Okay. So, we can, hang on, I'm making a note here. We have, two different potential ad hocs with at least two members. And you could form those, tonight and agree to that. And if anyone else wanted to join either of those, you could, or hold out and discuss perhaps a third one if there were interest at a subsequent meeting.
Thank you. Knowing that, I'd like to change mine to community engagement. It would be my number one choice, with Safe Routes as a second.
Okay.
Okay. So that would have Brian, Frank, and Marja. That's a solid committee that you could decide on tonight. And then Adam and Pamela on ATP mapping. And Nicole, I didn't make a note on you. Did I miss what you had suggested?
I haven't said anything. I'm kind of seeing where I should fall, but I think ATP. And I'm wondering, like, if a member from the audience would want to be a part of that. Would that, if that third person could that count as a third person, or has to be three committee members?
They absolutely could, and I think that would happen after the initial formation in this case,
Okay.
because we can't really engage that
Okay,
that
then I'll
comment
add
right now.
myself,
But we
yeah.
could reach out and make that available. And if someone were interested, they could also reach out to Bjorn and let them know.
Okay, I'll add myself to the ATP.
Okay,
Nicole Camarda.
excellent. So if you can would you like me to reiterate that and just by show of hands, have the group agree to these two ad hocs? And if you have the list, go for it. And I'm happy to support that if you don't have it.
Sure. So if you would like to be on the ATP ad hoc, please raise a hand. Okay, Marja, I didn't have you for that. I had you for communications.
Sorry, I must have fallen asleep.
No,
What are you requesting?
for the ATP deep dive, looking at the interactive mapping tool.
I think we have plenty of people for that committee.
Okay, excellent.
no.
So Pamela, Adam, and Nicole. The League of American Bicyclists application, nobody at this time. Safe Routes to School, Adam's interested, but will be serving on ATP. Tactical Urbanism, Adam and Barnacle are interested, but are prioritizing other committees. Slowing traffic in low enforcement areas, we'll table that one for now. Same with pedestrian safety and sidewalk repair, and standards for street markings and trails. And then communications and community engagement, Frank Quint, Brian Barnacle, and Marja Tar. And then the SCT bike share, I don't have anyone for that. I saw that's coming in the staff update, so maybe that can come later.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so with that, let me see, I've lost my place, I'm sorry.
So maybe just by show of hands, do the committee members, does this quorum present approve the formation of the 2 ad hoc committees? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Okay, so the public is invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you haven't done so already, please fill out a speaker card and bring it to the clerk. And clerk, have you received any comments prior to the meeting on this item?
There were no public comments received.
Okay, and we have no speakers on this. Okay, so this closes public comment for this item. And we are not taking a vote. So our next item is to elect a new chair and vice chair, effective August. What? I'm sorry. I think I have an older agenda here, I'm sorry.
So we're on item 4.
Yeah, it's not in my annotated one.
Oh dear.
That's okay.
So I can
Okay,
help out if.
So a recommendation to appoint a citizen representative to the Sonoma County Transportation Authority Countywide Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. This is continued from our April meeting. And I believe there was an email to see if there were any interested participants. Was there any feedback from that?
I have not received any. That does not mean that Bjorn hasn't.
Okay.
And Shelley, are you aware of any?
I did not see any feedback where people nominated anybody or people wanted to nominate themselves.
Marja?
I did volunteer to Bjorn,
Oh, you did?
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
but I'm hoping for competition.
I'd like to nominate Marja Tar to the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, or Sonoma County Transportation Authority Citizens Advisory Committee.
All right.
Okay.
I'd second that.
Okay, and we take public comment on this? Yes.
Yes.
The
we do.
public, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting tired, I think. So the public is invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you haven't done so already, please fill out a speaker card and bring it to the clerk. And clerk, were there any comments received on this item prior to the meeting?
There were no public comments received.
Okay, and there are no speakers. So that closes public comment. Congratulations, Marja.
Thank you, Marja.
And now moving to item 5, to elect a new chair and vice chair.
And again, I have not received any communications on this. And this is, one of those times when your committee has to look at each other and come to terms with your individual time commitments and bandwidths and desire to take a leadership role for a period of time. And it can be a discussion among you and hopefully result in a nomination for a new chair and vice chair.
Marja.
Nicole, at the last meeting, which I left early for because it was my birthday, and I thank you for that, I understood that Kelly indicated that she was no longer interested in serving. Is that correct?
Yeah, and she did say she would not mind serving as vice chair.
Well, knowing that, would you be interested in taking over the chairship?
I would be interested to see if anybody else is.
So it's a possibility. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, in my experiences are very like, there's a lot of public engagement in this committee, and I don't honestly feel like I have the bandwidth, but I really love this committee, and I would do it if no one else feels like they want to do it.
It's a soft no. I call that a soft no.
Yeah,
Or
I
hard
just
maybe.
want to do a
Thank you.
to do a good job, you know. Are there any other interested chairs, potential chairs?
I would like to get at least 3 more meetings under my belt before I volunteer.
Understandable. Understandable. Okay.
And
I'm not allowed to be chair, right?
No, you can't be chair, I don't
Okay.
think.
And Pamela and I have,
Liaisons don't get that privilege. And that would be a lot anyway. And what about committee member Garcia? Any interest?
No, not at this time. I think I'm still getting my feet wet. In the future, I would definitely consider it, but would appreciate some more time to get acclimated.
Understandable.
So if I may, Vice Chair Camarda, if you could hold this for the next few months maybe, and then we could work on a replacement plan during that time, and you could resign early if that's the case. We need a chair, right? We have to have a chair. So we can all take you out and buy you a drink or something. Make up for
I
it.
think that's bribery.
Okay, yeah. No, thanks.
I would suggest maybe something in the order of magnitude of like 4 months. And then perhaps revisit this with our new committee members and anyone else whose situation might change, where it might be a more feasible commitment for them. We should talk about that time commitment and what it means. It's not huge. I don't think beyond what the other committee members do. There's a couple of meetings with staff in agenda preparation. There's one for agenda prep and then one for sort of a post-meeting update, and those 2 meetings generally happen within a week of each other, and that's it. And then some communications maybe if needed with staff if there's something, and then of course running the meetings is you're at the meeting regardless. So it is more of a commitment to conduct the meeting, and it definitely takes more energy and focus and can be challenging at times, but oftentimes it's not a burden. And I speak from personal experience, having been in my civilian existence before my staff life. I was on the Planning Commission, and I somehow got nominated and stuck as chair unwillingly, but accepted it and found that it was a great learning experience, and it was fine. And it wasn't something that I wanted, and it certainly wasn't anything I had time for. So that was one person's experience. It can be a lot of fun, actually, and it gives you, on the flip side, gives you a great opportunity to direct conversation and manage meetings and work a little more closely with staff and learn about how that all works. So.
Yeah, thank you
And
for
we're
saying that.
wonderful to work with, I gotta tell you.
I have no doubt. I know that. My biggest concern is that I won't have the time and ability to meet and hear concerns of the public. And I feel like that's really important. Like, I really want to honor that. So,
Yep.
yeah, I definitely can make time for the meetings, and I love working with the staff. But I want to make sure that I honor the public in that capacity.
Yeah, and so you're speaking to emails that might come in on topics and issues and concerns and wanting to respond to those, and that does take time and energy. Staff often can and will help with those responses.
Okay.
That's part of our job to help our committee.
And if this helps, if you'll do it, I'll do the vice chair while you're doing it. I'll back you up until we meet in 4 months and make some changes.
You know, you guys are so kind.
Well-
Thank you. Yeah, well, I would be happy to do it for the foreseeable future.
I'll make a motion to appoint Nicole as chair and Marja Tar as vice chair.
Second.
Okay. The public is invited to make comments on this item. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you haven't done so already, please fill out a speaker card and bring it to the clerk. And clerk, have you received any comments prior to the meeting?
No comments received.
Okay, so this closes public comments. Can someone make a motion for the chair and vice chair? You just did that.
Yep, motion and second are on the table. Right, there was a second?
Who seconded?
Adam.
I seconded
Yes.
Adam.
Okay.
Clerk,
So-
can you call roll?
Alsemeyer,
Yes.
Bond, Camarda,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Quint,
Yes.
Tar,
Yes.
Hooper, Earl, Barnacle.
Aye.
Okay. Committee comment. During committee comment, members are invited to briefly share updates relevant to this committee, including liaison reports from other city bodies, and make requests for future agenda items. Dialogue between members should be limited to clarifying questions and answers, and there will be no public comment on this item. Marja, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I have just one comment. Just a reminder that the first Friday the Wheelmen put on is July 7th, which is a week from this Friday. Is that right?
No, it
it's
is this Friday.
Excuse me, it's this Friday, 5 p.m. Walnut Park. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Yes, Brian.
Attended the Blue Zones kickoff last week. It was a great turnout over at the junior college auditorium. And Nicole Warwick is the new executive director for the Blue Zones effort in Petaluma. And there's going to be no shortage of great tie-ins with the work we're doing here on this committee. So just another group to be in tune with. The council, we've updated our mobile home park ordinance. Not that's entirely relevant, but it was a big deal. And then I attended the fair week before. And the one thing that struck me was there was no bike racks there. And something that draws so many people right to the center of our city, it seemed like a real missed opportunity to not have bike racks there. So that was all from me.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay. And staff comments.
Thank you, Chair. I have some staff updates, and I will share my screen. There we go. And Ken, thank you for joining. Ken Eichstead is also available if we have questions. So our capital project updates are first up. D Street traffic calming and AT quick build. We sent a update out on June 28th to the community and posted it to the webpage. We are planning to go to bid this summer with the phase 1 improvements that have been noted to be limiting the improvements to the basic safety improvements. And the bike facility question is still under review. We have continued feedback coming in. This is ongoing, and from both sides. And we're evaluating that. We're evaluating options, and we'll come back with that proposal as a phase 2. But in the meantime, phase 1 will have a lot of very, very impactful, I think, safety improvements for all users. And those include some new crosswalks, some speed feedback signs, some speed reduction markings, similar to the ones that were installed on I Street, some traffic diversion, I think, on 5th is in this basic phase 1. So a lot of the improvements, basically everything except a decision on the bike facility, because we decided we needed more time. So again, based on what we're hearing from the community. And the link, the D Street traffic calming page link is in this PDF that you received with the agenda. 5th Street Neighborhood Greenway to be bid installed with D Street calming phase 1. So both of those will be going to bid very soon. Really exciting projects. And then North McDowell Complete Streets, we now have all of the concrete work completed, so all of the sidewalk gaps are closed on North McDowell from Old Redwood Highway to Sunrise Parkway. Big deal, really exciting. And so that's complete, and now paving is underway. I believe we're probably a couple more months to see a completion, and I'm not sure if that includes striping or not. I would think by the end of summer, though, September, we should be wrapping up the contract work that we have out there for that. And Ken, shake your head if I got that. Tell me if I got that wrong.
I was going to say that we're going through the curing process on the outside lanes, and then work is going to start on the inside lanes. So we still got a month of fairly involved construction, and the final pavement, I just talked to the contractor today, the final pavement run should happen in, I would estimate, about 6 weeks. And then there's a process we need to let that stabilize, and then we can go in and start doing the striping. So the only other things I would add on this is that we've got a fair number of the properties going to drought tolerant landscaping. So I was really excited about that. And also we've got some of the properties that are going in. We've done a full treescape plan, and it's not necessarily directly part of this project, but some of the property owners are going ahead to install additional trees on the property. So I'm pretty excited about that, and pedestrian safety elements going in. So there will be more presented at the July 17th council meeting. So thanks, Gina and Chair.
Thanks, Ken. And then Rainier Avenue, the utilities and pavement are our priority right now in design, and requiring a fairly extensive effort. Pavement is in worse condition than we initially thought after testing, and so that's taking a much greater design effort than we had anticipated, and time. And of course, we want to get because of that, it's not a simple paving thing. It's some reconstruction. So that means if there's any work to be done underneath that, and as far as utilities go, those pipes that are underneath that street, we want to take care of those first, so that we don't have to dig up gorgeous new pavement should we get that order wrong. We want to get those in the right order. So that work will be started. That design's underway, and Ken, I think you'll be presenting that update to council and for discussion and any feedback in September. And that means that project is a 2024 build, correct?
Yeah, correct. We're not getting the brass fittings for the utility work until probably November, and so there's delay on that supply front, and then we're doing a more formal redesign of the roadway that's needed. So thank you.
Okay. And then while you're on, don't go away, Ken. Well, I'll let you take the last bullet here. This is a great one. The speed radar signs that I think we can all jump up and down and do a happy dance on.
Yeah, so they're all installed. This is, sort of, you heard me talk about sort of the gateway improvements, and I'm working with the I Street staff, the I Street residents, to make some improvements along there. I met with them 2 weeks ago, and so there's definitely some things coming on I Street, and we've got, plans for Bodega for better pedestrian crossing on that. And then you've heard about D Street, and then Lakeville Highway is, collaborating with Caltrans and, going through the process, working with our traffic safety team at the police department to really get some long range improvements made on Lakeville that are sorely needed. So anyway, this is the speed radar signs are a start, but there's a lot more to come. So.
Right, and we are installed on D. Is it functioning now?
It is.
Great.
I saw it tonight.
Awesome. And is I Street installed yet or no?
It is. Yep. And I got a thank you from the neighborhood group. So that was
great.
It was good.
Excellent. And can you remind me where that funding came from? That was a grant, wasn't it?
No, that was that funding came from the traffic impact fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got that one wrong. All right. Thank you. Bike repair stations. Leadership Petaluma. I don't know if any of you know about Leadership Petaluma. It's a program through the City of Petaluma Chamber of Commerce, and it's virtually a year-long class that meets once a month, and they take people through all of the things that make our city what it is. And it's a great program, and at the end of this program, Building Leaders for the Community, the classes are asked to engage in a project and choose a project and build or implement whatever that might be. It might be a program or a project. And class of 223 purchased 5 bike fix-it stations for installation. So as you see on this slide, the locations proposed are the Water Street Bike Ped Bridge, Lynch Creek Trail at Lucchese, Prince Park, Mary Isaac Center, and the Downtown Smart Station. So for more information or to provide feedback, we ask you to contact Dan Barry, and his email address is on the slide here, and Rihanna Frank at City of Petaluma. Dan Barry represents the class of 2023, and Rihanna Frank is our climate action manager, and she's coordinating and working with the class project to help this come to fruition. So it looks like they're asking for feedback on this. I would encourage any and all of you to do so. And then grant updates. U.S. Department of Transportation, Safe Streets and Roads for All. City's application will be submitted as part of a countywide application by the SCTA. And the requests will include $3.2 million for intersection improvements here and $250,000 for Lakeville corridor study. for more information, we refer you back to the June 7th PVAC meeting, if you're forgetting what that was about. And then Sonoma Marin Bike Share Micro Mobility Program, RFP was reissued by SCTA, and those are due in August 14th. So end of summer, early fall, it looks like SCTA will hopefully have a preferred vendor identified. As I recall, last time it took quite a bit to get under contract. Took some time to get under contract once they were talking to and working with the preferred vendor, and that might be the same again this time. So I don't think you're going to see bike share bikes out on the roads, right away in the fall, but I don't think it'll be too protracted this time. We'll of course support SCTA with their efforts, and if we understand that an ad hoc might be helpful again to work with transit as that comes develops, then we'll absolutely bring that to the committee. And request a bike rack reminder. So we have a web page for bike parking, and a nice opportunity for folks to request a location for a bike rack, and how many would be in the request. And so we encourage this team, committee members, as well as the community at large to participate fully. We have bike racks that we have obtained through a grant. Ken, can you remind me who that grant was from?
The grant was, I believe it was TFCA. I think it was Clean Air.
And how many?
BAQMD.
And
yeah.
how many did we get? It was quite a few.
It is, and I think we can roughly buy 100. I mean, it's the grant. We also, the other part of the grant is to get them installed. So it's we've got to go out and contract that. But anyway, it's yeah, and we've talked to the city of Davis and how they've done it, and feel like I'm super excited. I hear Councilmember Barnacle on not finding a place to park your bike at the fairgrounds, and I'm really hoping that this program will get this started, because being able to safely lock up your bike, outside of where you want to shop, or whatever you might be doing downtown, is really important. So this is a great program, and Bjorn and I are super excited to move this forward.
So it looks like we have one location requested tonight already.
Gina, one comment. Ken, I don't know if you've talked to Drake at Rebuilding Together Petaluma, but you might want to talk to him about
Good idea.
installation. You might be able to bypass some of the bidding process and just get it done with some local skilled labor.
Yes, thank you. Will do.
And maybe one recommendation might also be to consider replacing the current bike racks here at City Hall. They're not very conducive to locking up anything besides just your wheel, if you want to try to share the space and not hog a whole 4 spaces.
I think we're well aware.
Sorry, I'm newbie, so I just thought I'd throw that.
I think I've heard comments from staff aplenty, but thank you. Yeah, good comments. And I think does this conclude my presentation? Upcoming agenda items. I think this is our last slide. We have the AT plan review, smart pathway update, Brown Act training, super important. Super important. And I think that this group it's probably been a while since PVAC has had that. So hope that comes up soon. City Thread, the mobility playbook, and then Safe Routes to Schools Task Force, Vision Zero update, and wayfinding update. And that concludes my presentation.
Gina and Ken, can I ask about the, on D Street, you said the bike facilities, you need more time. I would like to emphasize Emily's comment, like, this is a kind of pilot tactical urbanism. Could we like reconsider doing a pilot project with the bike lanes implemented? Or would it be appropriate for PBAC to send a letter of support for that to council?
Sorry, I was a little distracted. I'm trying to fix the view on the monitors. Having a hard time. Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering if we could revisit the idea of installing the quick build bike lanes on the D Street project.
I don't think anything is off the table with regard to those lanes. My comment that I made earlier is that staff is evaluating further public comment and evaluating alternatives that might be proposed for alternates,
Okay.
alternate parallel routes, and looking at, and revisiting, the D Street proposal that you had seen. So as far as I know, nothing is off the table, and we're just wanting more time to make sure that we do a really careful and thorough assessment and take into account the community feedback that we're receiving. And we are receiving community feedback from local residents and from, from the town in general, from, in the survey that we have on the website. We can understand from the survey questions if they're cyclists or how they use the road and where they live and how often they use it, et cetera. And so we're getting a nice cross-section of feedback from that survey. And then, of course, we also receive quite a bit of email. So we're trying to assimilate all that as we move forward. And I think that's about about as much as I can say on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from the committee? Okay, so I think that adjourns the meeting. Is that right?
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks.
Thank you.